What's up, GameLeapers? This is Coach Cheeks. In today's video, 10 champions who are underrated for the most part in most elos, but they're actually really OP in high reload. So if you can play these champions, then I'll give you some technology out there as far as like runes, builds, and all that stuff goes. But yeah, if you actually want to master these champions, guys, GameLeap.com, I challenge your players and coaches. We're uploading videos regarding champion micros, so they might be like courses or guides. They might be macro based, so talking about like, when you should base and stuff, simple mid to late game macro. We have everything you need to actually climb on this game. So check out those links down below, description and comment section, and let's get into the 10 champions and builds that are underrated in 13-14. So these champions, guys, basically they're not going to be picked and banned as much in lower elos as they are in higher elos, so that's why they're kind of like sleeper OP. The first of these, we're starting in the top lane, and we have 4 champions here. The first of these is Renekton. So because of all the recent Renekton buffs, this champion is actually really good again. Normally in solo queue, like in the last few seasons, he's had normally around like a 47-48% win rate in the majority of elos. Right now in higher elos, so this is Diamond plus Career. And remember, at the moment, because it's like the starter split 2, no one is really like Challenger again. So most of those players who were Challenger before are in Diamond plus. So in this elo, he's an S+ tier champion with over a 14% pick rate, and this is in Korea, with over an 11% ban rate. Even though Renekton does have like quite a lot of counters in the top lane, whether it's something like a Quinn, Jax does well against him, right? Ornn does pretty well, Alawi does well too. So there are lots of champions there that might cuck this guy, but still, despite that, in high elo Korea, he is extremely OP, and that's really just because of all the recent buffs. Even if we think about Black Cleaver getting buffed, right, the attack damage, the HP, this is amazing for Renekton. I just highly recommend, guys, if you're playing Renekton, to take Ignite, because you're picking this guy to win lane. Without it, I mean, you don't actually scale that bad anymore, but yeah, without it, you aren't going to be that much of a threat. Now, next champion, number 9, if you want to play an AP top laner, Rumble is coming in next. Now, I think Rumble is one of the best champions and like versatile champions in the game, because you can kind of flex pick him, whether it's mid lane Rumble or top lane Rumble. Rumble jungle as well probably still works, but because of the recent buffs to Rumble, or changes I should say, where they put HP in his kit, so like your damage or whatever is going to scale off the HP you have, it's made him more bruisery, which is amazing for top lane. Also, because your heat got changed so you have more of it, it's actually just easier to manage now as well. And this has been unreal for this champion. You can see the build here for me with Sorcerer's Shoes. Amazing rush for Rumble, especially in the top lane. The movement speed is really useful to gap close and also to escape ganks and all that. Then we have Demonic Embrace as your first item. With Demonic, because of the extra HP you have now in your kit, and in the top lane, every single champion you go against pretty much, unless there's something like Quinn or Vayne or maybe GP, they're going to be building HP, right? So the Demonic as a kind of gaze passive is unreal. Then following this up with a Night Harvester, for the haste and the actual damage, of course, this gives you, it's an amazing setup for Rumble. There are some obvious counters though, so pretty much like lots of the ranged champions top, so whether it's Cassio, whether it's Ryze, Akshan would be very good as well. You do have to be careful about playing against these. But yeah, according to the stats, Rumble is top tier and really underrated. Now, a champion who might not be underrated, but who is picked nowhere near as much as she should be, even in high elo Korea, this is Poppy. Look at these stats for me, over a 54% win rate, and that's in over 2,500 games. You can see her ban rate as well, by the way, is pretty high, right? And I think Poppy, like, we should all know why she's good top lane, right? Because of the recent buffs to her, where you're dealing more damage based off of HP, and because there's so much HP in the top lane, Poppy's great for this. And with Divine Sundra and then Dead Man's Plate, the movement speed you get from Dead Man's, and then the actual damage you deal with the enhanced auto attack, this is cracked on Poppy. But yeah, even if we think about like this meta at the moment, how it's kind of engagey, we're seeing rel support, right? For example, Poppy completely annihilates her. If we think a lot of junglers and mid laners with dashes, man, Poppy's just an amazing champion to have in your champion pool. And if you don't have her in there, you are really missing a trick. Now, the final top laner, guys, to talk about is a champion who loves using the new Ghost. Now, Ghost, I understand, got changed, right? So it's lasting 15 seconds now, not 10 seconds, and it's missing the reset you get on takedowns. But for Olaf in top lane, like, teamfighting, I understand, you're probably going to be doing it at some point, but in the laning phase, like, that's what you're really picking Olaf for, to dominate, right? And with approach velocity and the extra seconds now you're getting in Ghost, bro, like, if you get hit by his undertow, you have way more kill threat now because of the extra seconds in Ghost. I think it's an amazing early to mid game spell and very snowbally now, and because of the recent Stride Breaker buffs as well, this mythic on Olaf with steel caps and then maybe like Steris Gauge. Of course, steel caps you don't have to go if they have a lot of AP, or if you're really snowballing. You can always offer like Lucidity Boots or Merc Treads, but you have your ultimate, so Merc Treads, they lose a bit of value. But yeah, anyway, look at these stats. It's performing extremely well, but he's picked nowhere near as much as he should be in this elo and lower elos as well. Now, moving into the mid lane here, guys. First up, we have Akshan. Now, for Akshan, this build is kind of low-key. Not many people are building it, and this is quite simply Stride Breaker Akshan with Kraken Slayer and Bork. So you have all the damage in the world when you have Kraken Slayer, right, and Bork. The actual on-hit damage, the magic damage, which scales with your kit as well. You do have AP in your kit. Then finishing this off with Stridebreaker, it allows you to slow the champion you're heroic swinging on, because at that stage of the game, you'll have 5 points in this. And against backline champions, ranged champions, they're never going to escape. Remember, Akshan doesn't have the biggest range in the world. His auto attack range is pretty small. So with the slow from Stridebreaker, this allows you to get in more auto attacks when you swing in and hit that enemy AD carry or ranged mid laner. So this is a very interesting but broken setup. You can see that, all right, it's only 28 games, but this is at the highest level of play. So to have close to an 80% win rate, that's kind of when you know. Now another attack damage mid laner here. This champion, well, is just really making use of the new Prowler's Claw. So Prowler's giving you extra lethality now. It's been amazing for who? For Qiyana in the mid lane. Now, of course, there are other champions out there, right, who would appreciate the new Prowler's Claw. So whether it's something like a Talon mid or a Zed, right? But Qiyana just has the best stats out of all of these in higher reloads. You can see in over 2,000 matches, she has close to a 54% win rate, S+ tier champion. And with Duskblade, remember the recent buff to Duskblade, where you're dealing more damage at a higher HP now, this has been pretty sick too, and the buffs to Qiyana a few patches ago. So if you want to dominate a game, I don't even know if there's a better champion than Qiyana at the moment because of the buffs to not only her, but also to her items and stuff. So great champion to have up your sleeve. Now moving on, the final mid laner guys to talk about here, this is Katarina. Now for Katarina, we know, right, with Nash's Rocket Belt, even if you're going Divine Sunder or something, right, this is super OP. But one build here that is used in high elo career, and of course like other people are going to be using this, but what I'm saying here is this, that perhaps the most effective build at that level of play, and this will work in every single other elo, alright, is going Static Shiv as your first item. Yes, I know they reduce the electroshock damage, but the AP ratio is still in this, and because Katarina's wave clear is absolute turd, this means that against those, you know, every other mid laner who wave clears better than you, you can actually hit the wave and not waste cooldowns on the wave, which means, I mean, it's kind of like LeBlanc, right, with Static Shift. You don't have to use your abilities to clear minion waves. You can auto attack it, providing the enemy champion isn't like way more fed than you, and you can't even touch the wave. But what I'm saying, guys, is that with Static Shift and then the on hit from Nash's Tooth and the AP this is giving you, followed by Rocket Belt, it's a really OP setup with over a 75% win rate. And you have to understand as well, guys, like these builds in this elo at the moment, there isn't that much data. I'm just going off like a small sample size, of course. So if you think it's troll, then think it's troll. But surely this makes sense. So Static Shift Katarina is the final mid laner here. Now moving down to the bot lane, we have 3 champions to discuss. And guys, if you are enjoying our recent content, please leave a like down below. That would be sick. And yeah, the first of these AD carries is Xayah. Now I've put Xayah here because she's kind of like just been forgotten about, I think. With the engaged meta, I think this champion is still unbelievably broken. I don't know what it is, man. Like, when you run into her, it's like you just can never touch her. And because of the engaged meta, whether it's something like a Rel running at you, whether it's like, I don't know, an Alistar support who's really good right at the moment, whether it's some dive top laner, dive mid laner, dive jungler, like Diana getting buffed, bro, Xayah has actually become better in 13-14 because those champions getting buffed. Even if it's something like a Lissandra as well, right? So there are so many champions out there that Xayah cucks, and guess what? They're really flavor of the patch right now. But just be a little bit careful blind picking Xayah, guys, because if you're going up against an Ezreal, you can never touch him. A Varus as well, even if it's on-hit Varus, if it's poke Varus, something like an Ashe 2 just outranges you. They are really big cucks. So probably don't blind pick her, but yeah, as a counter pick to not only the bot lane, where you might have engaged, but also the general team composition, she's a fantastic pick. Now, the next AD carry to discuss here, this is Tristana. Now, this is Tristana, and honestly, I think Tristana is here because of the engaged meta as well, right? Where you can stack, of course, your lethal tempo, but also get your explosive charge damage off. This is why Tristana is so good. Now in high elo career, most people are going lethal tempo. Halo Blades makes sense as well, because when you have like a Rel support or an engaged support, right, you get those 3 auto attacks off with your E already on the enemy champion, especially with your rapid fire, you will be one-shotting them. But with lethal tempo, you can still achieve the same thing. And then pairing this with Navori Quick Blades and Kraken Slayer as your first item, bro, like stacking this, you get your cooldowns off so much more. And I think this is a really underrated setup. And if you can run something really snowbally, almost like a Draven would, where you have Eyeball Collection and then Treasure Hunter, this enables you to scale more and to hit your mid to late game, which is when you're super broken. Your early game is still good, good. But yeah, just make sure, guys, you're picking Triss when you have an engaged support next to you. Just be careful of playing against champions maybe like Nyla and Sivir, because they can like just block all your damage. But yeah, Tristana is also here. Final champion, guys, to discuss in this video, and make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, so you don't miss our future Season 13 uploads. This is Kai'Sa, and I'm not talking about static shift Kai'Sa with Nash's Tooth. What I'm talking about here is lethal tempo Kai'Sa, so no Hella Blades, lethal tempo Kai'Sa, and guess what? Exactly the same as the Tristana setup here. You're going Kraken Slayer with Navori Quick Blades. So what happens at the moment in this meta quite a lot is that you're going to see AP junglers because, you know, like Diana is back, Elise, Evelyn, Echo, all these champions are pretty good. So if you see one of those junglers, guys, and you have an AP mid laner, so something like a LeBlanc or a Lissandra who are pretty popular, right? Then you probably do have to go attack damage Kai'Sa. And lots of people have kind of just forgot that this is super good still, man. So even though it might be picked like even 10% less of the time than the static shift setup, this is honestly probably better. Now, for your third item, like after you go Kraken and then Navori, you can opt for PD. If you think you're going to be dueling someone a lot, you can go for Runar's Hurricane if the enemy team is very close range. So there are a couple of options here. Just make sure for your evolution, you're going Q, then your E, and then your W, and yeah, obviously your ultimate later. So those were the 10 underrated sleeper OP champions and then builds as well, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in our next one. This has been Coach Cheeks. Peace.